Welcome to the channel, Martha.
Thank you for having me here, Festus. Appreciate it. I love your content.
Thank you, thank you. So today we're going to talk about weak men,
There's
and
a lot
there's a lot of them.
of them.
Well,
But there's just a lot of strong men too out there. So
right. So what is the difference? What is a weak man versus a strong man? What does that look like to you?
I think it has more to do like with the mental than it does anything else. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really do appreciate, like, for example, like but back then, like in the caveman days, like when women picked which men to be with, it would always be the strongest, the men who would be able to go get the meat out there and then bring it back. That's who they would reproduce with, and that's how it's always been, like since
Mm-hmm.
like the beginning of time. So it's always somebody that you feel like you could feel protected by, safe by, I think both emotionally, physically, and things of that nature. I feel like I don't respect someone who I feel like, don't respect themselves, for example.
Mm.
So it's just a man who
How
respects
does how
himself.
does someone not respect themselves?
I think not having discipline. Like the men that lack discipline are the ones that are, out there with a whole bunch of vices. They can't, like, I don't know, they can't, like, it just feels like they are lost in their vices and not
Mm-hmm.
in control of their own life, if that's a good way to put it.
No, I absolutely agree. I thought I was going to disagree more, starting off, to be honest. But I definitely agree. A lot of the time I actually feel like I can't give myself to everybody,
Hmm.
Similar to how a woman feels, right? You can't just give yourself to everybody. And the reason for that is like, it shouldn't be that easy. It shouldn't be that easy to think that you can get with me.
Right.
So being disciplined in that regard, especially when you have those options, right? So for most guys, at least from what I've been hearing, they don't necessarily have the options to go out and get a whole bunch of women, right? So similar to a woman, they can go and get a bunch of men. You start to think about, you start to be more selective. You start to look at things differently. Like, oh, I'm not going to talk to this person. I'm not going to talk to that person. You might even think about subconsciously, oh, I could have been with this person, but I wasn't, right? Those are the things that women might deal with. The only reason I know that is because I have those similar situations, right? I could have been with this woman, but I chose not to deal with her. A lot of men don't even have that opportunity to think like that to begin with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And to give like an example on that, for like there was this guy who I had a conversation with, and I asked him, like, how you wanted to be viewed, because he's also one of those people who, like, he's really focused on financial, like he wants to make a lot of money, and like that's like his goal, and he's 26 years old, has a kid, but he's focused on money.
Mm-hmm.
But like I know a few people that he slept with that don't give a fuck. So it's like I know the type of person that he slept with, and then he comes to me, it's like, well, I want a high value woman. Then why would you give yourself, like, you already made me think that you're this type of guy,
Right.
because you just put your dick anywhere, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
But when you say they don't give a fuck, you mean they don't give a fuck about life. They're just out here doing whatever.
they don't pay attention to the consequences or
Mm-hmm.
how they're viewed as, when another woman can see that even though they claim that they're this type of man or discipline or whatever and just focus financially, when they can put their dick pretty much in anywhere and anything, and they don't even know where it's been.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, I like lose respect for that person.
Right.
Even as a dating person, like
Mm-hmm.
that's someone I wouldn't want, like, even around me, because if you're not careful about what you're doing with that person, then why would I think that you would be careful with me?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, you're putting yourself in danger with every person you sleep with. You want to think at least that they'll take care of themselves, that they're healthy, that their upkeep is where it needs to be. I'm very intentional as well. Like, I was a biologist. I went to school for biology. So I'm all about anatomy, physics, understanding what cellular structure you're on. I probably just lost a few viewers just thinking about that. But that's the type of stuff that's front of mind for me. It's like, what am I trying to reproduce? What am I getting at? Yeah, there's a lot of women who are just fun, but who is for me? Like, who is someone that I can actually see myself with, spending time with, having good relationship with. It doesn't always have to form into like, a relationship, but someone that I can actually see myself around. You know, for the first time, I feel like I actually have female friends that I can actually really see myself being around long term. Does that make sense?
Right.
Where I had a girl ask a question recently, and she said, "Why do guys always just want sex? Why can't I have any male friends?" And I said, "Well, if you didn't go to school with them, if you didn't work with them, I don't know what you're looking for, because all of these guys are probably what I would consider low value, right? They're looking for any way to get in."
So my ex, he actually made this comment. He said that he actually told me, like he put it in my head, like for a really long time. He was like, "No guy's your friend." He's like, "Every single guy is trying to get it in." Like, and I'm like, "But why?" I don't feel that way, especially with some of the guys that I hang out with, and I make it very clear sometimes, like we're just friends, like we're not going anywhere with this. But he said that I couldn't even. I most likely men would hold on just for the moment or the opportunity. So like what do you think about like guys who are friends with girls or women and I guess are just waiting for the opportunity, or is that usually not the case?
I would agree.
Okay.
I would agree with him.
Okay.
And most guys would not agree. I will tell you that right now. They're trying to get in your pants. I'm being serious. Katie probably had to think about it, and Katie's off to the side, by the way, for the viewers. She probably had to think about it long and hard before coming to my house. You know why? Because most guys aren't me. And I'm not saying that in a way that's like, oh my goodness, I'm so different from everybody else, but I am.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like, that guy that you were talking to was in your pants. And he is protective of you because he cares about you. If he didn't say those things, then he doesn't care about you. Any girl who's like, oh, he's yeah. Any girl who's like, oh, he's overprotective, oh, he doesn't want me to do this and that, then they don't really care.
So mind you though, this is the same ex that would follow a whole bunch of girls and be like, "But she's my friend." I'm like, "Motherfucker, didn't you tell me what this intention was to begin with?"
Overprotective about you, not overprotective about himself.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of guys.
I laughed so hard when he was like, when the minute that he said that to me, and then later on in life, adding people, and then I find out, and then he's like, "Oh, but she's a friend." Oh, didn't you tell me that you were waiting for an opportunity? Like, what?
He's also waiting for an opportunity with other women.
And that's why we're not together.
Does that mean that he'll leave you for another woman? Probably not. He'd probably stay with you through thick and thin. But where you're having the issue is that protecting, that providing aspect. Maybe he doesn't have the resources to provide for two people. And so with him putting his thing anywhere, he can attract a low value type of woman. Now he's limiting the resources that is available for you and your family. And you rather be by yourself than be with a man that is spreading himself too thin.
And I've seen that happen more often than not, whether they're in the relationship or not. Like whether, I mean, and for the most part, I have seen and met a lot of married men even doing whatever they want. And that's okay. Like, it's like, if women are happy with that kind of situation in marriage, like kudos, whatever. But personally, I don't feel like comfortable with that. And I think it's just because I also bring a lot to the table as a woman. Like, I'm not like, I have my own job. Like, I take care of my kid. Like, I do a whole bunch of other things. Maybe some triggers or PTSD is still trying to figure that out. But I still need to go to therapy. But for the most part, I bring a lot to the table. And I think that a lot of men just don't understand that women also want the same respect that they get for bringing stuff to the table.
Right.
I
think the thing is, like, men value things so differently.
Yeah, explain that. I want to know.
So, for example, when a guy goes out and has sex, if he does have a kid, he's the one that's going to be on child support. Why? Because he tends to make more money. We work the same job, right?
Yeah.
But if I told you how much money I make in a month, it's completely different. So just based on that aspect, you know, okay, this guy is someone who can provide for me. Like my job is not even a third of my income. That's how sad it is for me. But I love the job because I get the free time to do my YouTube. I get the ability to actually have weekends off. I'm not a general manager at some random restaurant. I don't have to work 6, 7 days a week, 50 hours minimum. That's the lifestyle that I was used to. That's how I accumulated what I got. And now, like, I'm able to tell my family, hey, everybody's birthday, I'm paying for everything. I literally just told them that yesterday. But why can I do that is because I'm in a place where, I'm able to do that. I never thought that I could do that before.
So in regards to, being able to be a provider, like
Mm-hmm.
what kind of women in that case would you say that is kind of more like, because everyone has a list, of what they would like to have. Like what are your like top 5 qualities, I guess, or things that you would like to have or that you value,
Wow.
I guess.
I'm the one being interviewed now. So I think the biggest thing is also how you grow up, because people will look at it differently that way. So for the Latino community, for the African community, for the Indian community, I do believe that we have a lot of the same values because we're more cultural.
Right.
So we already know that a woman cook and clean. We already know that women can be motherly to their children. But can you also do that for me? So when I'm sick, right? Are you like, oh, don't worry, you'll get better? Or are you actually making me soup and trying to actually help me get better? Like everybody wants to feel like a child. You want to feel protected. You want to feel cared for. You want to feel like this person got my back. You're his baby, right? You want to feel like you can be a child. You can be free. You can be vulnerable around this person. And if someone can't allow you to do that because you're such a rich guy, you're such a disciplined man, everybody wants to feel like a child. And it's hard to do that to a guy who is very responsible, to a guy who is very about his business, a guy that's always filming, whether it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it doesn't matter. A guy that's always turning his house into a business, right? So it's really just being able to have a mindset of no matter who the man is, no matter where the man goes, whether he has $1 billion or whether he has $1, just being able to say, he's my baby, no matter what. Like my mom, although I would never talk back to her, she would always be like, you're my kid no matter what, right? You're my baby no matter what. You have to treat your man the same way. I think that is very important. A lot of men at first won't truly understand that, but they will appreciate it from the jump. So yeah, treating them like, oh, you did this, that's bad. I don't like that, right? Like that's how it should be. And vice versa. Like a woman is looking for a leader. A woman is looking for someone who is responsible, someone who can take care of them, someone who will provide the same lifestyle that they had growing up, if not more.
Yeah.
And then more for their children.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, personally, like I have a very strong personality, like especially in relationships. Like I've been more like I can tell like where this is gonna go, and I'm gonna dictate where it goes in a way. Like I like to be in control in that sense. In general, because I can observe and see like the actions of other people and how like they move, and I kind of move accordingly, if that's a good way to put it. So if I know it's not gonna go anywhere, I'm going to play my role in that. And then if I feel like it could go somewhere, I'm also going to play my role in that. But from my experiences, when I've been more willing to fold the clothes, take care of him when he's sick, like be more unconditional towards the person I was talking to at the time, it was more in those moments when I felt like safe, when I felt like he was putting in effort. He would give me good morning kisses and ask me how my day was, like, so like he was in a way filling my cup enough that I was able to overflow his, what I'm saying. So I think that for the most part, I think both sides sometimes want each other to fill each other's cups, but don't know how to fill their own to get to that point and then meet in the middle in a way. So
you have to be confident in yourself, and I can tell that you're very confident in who you are. Obviously, I'm confident in who I am, And so when you have two confident people, your cup is already filled. Like
Right.
you feel like you can go to any man and you'll be just fine. Same way with me.
Mhm.
Like, you know, let's say I have a girl today, a girl tomorrow. It really doesn't matter. What do you do that's so different that I'm going to take you seriously? You understand? Like, I had girls tell me that I can be with multiple women. I've had girls tell me that I can have multiple relationships as long as they're the main one or the second one or whatever. Why is that? Obviously, if I was not financially stable, that wouldn't even be on the table because you're just like everybody else.
Mhm.
You're just struggling. You probably live with your mom. You're X, Y, and Z, right?
Right.
So, to be in a position to where, like, let's say, for me personally, if I'm going to be in a relationship and I'm saying, listen, it's an open relationship, I can do what I want, you can't. Here's the reason why. It's because, right? Because every girl is going to be like,
Sorry. I was like,
every girl is going to be like, whoa, why can't you do what you want, but I can't? Right? That's the first question that comes to mind. And the reason why is because, one, I'm not taking care of nobody else's kid.
Right.
If you're going to be with me and I accept you, you have a child, cool. That's me making a decision to say, I'm going to accept this person and their child. That's a responsibility. We already talked about a little bit of responsibility earlier. As a man, I now have not only a financial responsibility, but a fatherly responsibility. The financial part is easy for me. The fatherly part is something that I've never dealt with before. A lot of women don't also take that in consideration, right?
So I have to say this on that aspect, like, you know, I think it depends on the woman because there are, I'm going to say this on both sides. There are women who are desperate for a father of their child. They do not care who it is. They just need some male figure to be the parent. And I've seen that. Like, I've seen people with 3 kids and they're looking for the next, like, they're literally dating back to back just to find who's going to be the next baby, like
That
the
won't
father.
work.
Like, it doesn't. I
It
know.
doesn't work.
Trust me,
It
I
doesn't
know.
work.
And it's sad because those children are seeing different men like every other year or every so often, you know, but they do that. And then there's the women who, for example, have, I think, like in my case, the father of my child, luckily, he's good. He's a great father. So I date for myself. Like, I never expect anybody to take care of Olivia or really financially care for her because she's taken care of, like, on
Want to
both
know
sides.
something crazy?
What?
You should expect that.
No, I don't.
No, you should.
Why?
And here's the thing. Like, when you start a relationship, right? It shouldn't be about, okay, you're going to take care of my child and you're going to do X,
Right,
Y, and
like,
Z.
yeah.
Right? But just off of the strength of you being a great person, just off of the strength of you being a decent human being, you already know that this person is mentally capable. You already know that this person is good in who they are and who they want to be. Then over time, that's going to work itself
Is that,
out.
you mean like if the guy is a decent person or whatever, or if, like, so I guess what you mean is, like, if they do put in effort and they're like, hey, here's like something for your daughter or something like that. Like, that's great. Like, I would love that. That's cool. That's somebody who really cares about my kid. And I would love, like, it. And eventually, if it does turn into something blended, that's, like, for me, allowable. But I don't want that to be the forefront, I guess.
Yeah, it wouldn't
If
be.
that's
It wouldn't be. And if it is, they're going to run away.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who it is.
Right. And that's what a lot of women don't, like, women who have, like, who don't have the father in the picture are in that type of boat.
Exactly, and that's why it won't work, because they're already rushing it in.
Yep, I know.
If you want a guy, I'm just thinking about my friend.
And I was there too, so I'm not going to say that I wasn't there. I was there. I was like, the first time I broke up with my ex, I was like, I want this man to be my kid's father. Like, I didn't understand. And then he made a comment that made me break up with him. He wanted to move in with me. And I wasn't ready for that. And neither was my daughter. And he was already around my daughter like a few times. And he made a comment one day when I said, hey, we're not ready for you to move in. And he basically said, she'll get over it. I was like, he did not say that to me. I was like, this motherfucker don't care about my kid. and then I ended it shortly
Yeah.
after that. So
I
things
mean,
like that, like but it made me realize that when I was thinking about this person taking over so I can have the family dynamic, that was wrong of me. I made that happen in a way. So I take responsibility for that, because it would have never got to that point if I wasn't doing that, you know? So now I'm dating differently. Now I'm like, okay, that's not the forefront. That's not what I want. I want somebody for me. And then if he extends out to my child, like, hey, here's tickets to like go to Cedar Point or whatever, like, that's cool. Like, I love that. I would love that to somebody who cares about my kid, but also isn't rushing to be the father of her, because he knows that the actual father is there.
Right. Yeah, that's a great perspective, and you can definitely find a man with that perspective. And the reason why is because, you know, when you are rushing, when you are looking so intently, and there's a lot of girls who do that, and obviously no percentage is 100% wrong, right? You're going to find 10% that are going to get what they want doing that. But the real reason why a lot of men will shy away is because of the responsibility. Like, there's a responsibility to your kid. There's a responsibility to you. A lot of men are already aware of the responsibility for a woman.
Right.
Right? But they're not aware of the responsibility for the package deal. So, in order for a man to evaluate that package deal, it's really not about the kid. They'll always make it about the kid, but they're not telling you the truth. It's about the woman, right? If you're high value enough for me, then the child is a no-brainer. And the more money a man has, the less of a strain that is for the man. I don't want you to start thinking, okay, if he has money, that's okay. No, it's really, if you provide more, then because he has money, it's so much easier for him to accept you. Not the other way around.
And I agree with that. So even in the dating world, when I even talk to men, like, I can tell mentally where they're at when they want to settle down based off of things they say. So like sometimes I do ask the hard questions, because I'm betting. Like, I don't necessarily date and I'm like stuck on that person. I'm just asking questions. I'm getting to know people. So when I ask them, like, hey, like, where are you at? Like, what do you feel about family? Like, or what do you feel about having kids? And if they're like, well, I want to do this. I want to follow my dream, or I want to be financially stable first. And I'm like, okay, that's their focus. They're not thinking about kids or marriage or anything at all right now. But when people are in that boat already and they're like, yeah, I'm good. I kind of do want to settle down now. For me, those are green lights. Those are like, okay, that's somebody who's kind of ready to date seriously, and somebody who's in that boat and also looking to date seriously. So that's a commodity, you know, somebody who's financially stable and they're also looking for I'm assuming at that point he's also vetting, you know what I'm saying? He's also seeing like what I'm about, you know what I'm saying? So, and I respect that. And I respect every single person, especially with their type, because I've also dated men who are there, but they also have a type, or they also have, like, some guys are like, I only like white girls, I only like Latinas, I only like this, you know? So it's like everybody has a type, and I respect that too.
Right.
So you can't force everyone, like, I guess. And it's crazy
but
it's crazy. Like, you can meet a billion people in the world and they just are their own person, and you kind of have to respect what they're about and what they like, and also respect that if you don't fit that kind of box for them, you know, sometimes. So I have met men who are like, I'm financially good, but I only like white girls. Okay, well, we're done here then.
Right.
So little things like that, you know?
I mean, if you're a guy watching, which you probably are, and you don't like to hear the sweet music that these Latinas make, then that's your problem.
The sweet music is yelling, screaming. They say they want a Latina until they get hit, and they're like,
that's
wait,
true.
what?
That until they get hit.
Just saying.
I had to double back on that. I'm like,
whoa. I'm just kidding. I don't hit nobody. I'm not like.
Are you kidding? Are you trying to save the rest of the Latinas?
No, we're not crazy. There's a lot of respectful, beautiful women out there that are Latinas.
You know what's funny? Like, especially in New York, and I'm sure you've heard, but yeah, we always hear the Latinas are crazy. That is like a thing that is always said. Do you think that stereotype is correct, or is it more overhyped?
It's just the way so I'm just going to say this, not everybody's in the same boat. I think the Latino community is kind of being more open to like therapy, like mental diagnosis and stuff like that. I grew up first generation, so like I got to know all that stuff and where I'm at and like be able to study myself and do self-development. So like obviously otherwise there's no regulation. You know, women traditionally in other countries are just literally gunning it, raw dogging life without any medication, raw dogging life with no medication, no therapist, nowhere else to do it besides your own family. Mm-hmm. And what are they going to do? Support your bullshit? Right. So, like, you know, for example, I'm just going to be open about my mom. Like, she's very emotional, very passionate, but she's also very sweet and loving. Mm-hmm. But she has never been able to regulate her emotions. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that that was like a flaw in me because of that. And I didn't recognize it until I became an adult. And then I realized, oh man, like I have to really focus on this and make sure like I control that, or else it's not going to help me forge great relationships or connections, you know? But a lot of Latinos are in that sense where they're more like passionate and emotional and not able to regulate that, you know, or be more self-aware, I guess, if that's a good way to put it. But there are, you know, again, I'm only just speaking on my experiences and who I've been around and how I've seen things happen around me. But everyone's different. I'm sure like there's a whole community of other people who run into people who are way more regulated, you know, but just from my experience and, you know, my own upbringing, it was a lot more emotional and passionate versus like.
Do you believe that's how it should be? Because like all this medication, all this talk of being civilized human beings, is that the way it should be, or should it be more passionate? Should it be more deregulated?
So because men think more in logic and less emotion than women do, women were always going to be like emotional human beings and creatures. Because that clashes so hard, I think that women also have a responsibility to think in terms of how they think, how men think. Like, you know, obviously they're not feeling what we feel. We can only control ourselves. So like, for example, like even as a Latina woman, I have been in situations where I've been out of control or emotional or outbursts or passionate. And I feel like had I regulated that a lot more, I could have helped the situation better. So things like that, you know, I feel like it should be controlled, but if I'm going to be emotional, it should be like the positive side of things. Like if I'm going to be passionate about my man, I want to say I love you, like text every so often, or like, you know, little things like that, like that kind of passion.
That sounds good, but what you're giving me right now, the vibe is you sound good, but you aren't good. Right?
No, I'm better. So, that's all I can say. I wasn't good.
So you're saying that you're ready to give this side of you, but what do you truly give that man most of the time?
So when I have actually had to understand that everyone's different, and it's kind of more reading about what they like. So like just because I like certain things done my way doesn't mean that they like their way. From like the overall umbrella thing that men really mostly care about the most in the world is respect. They want respect. And I think that it's easier now for women to be disrespectful than it is to be respectful. And I think as long as there's respect on the line, like it's easy for women to be like, you know what, I want to ask him this first. Or I feel like having a man feel needed, you know, I think to them helps a lot. And just being open to them, receiving them, I think. And I feel like men get a lot of criticism in things that, you know, I feel like if I had a son, I'd be a little bit more softer, I guess, with boys in the male population. But I feel like they just don't really know how to do things. And it's just women having to be a little bit more helpful in communicating that. You know, I think women just expect men to read their minds and stuff like that. And
when
it
you
doesn't
say
work that way.
You don't feel like they can do things, what are those things?
It's like be romantic. Like I literally say, hey, like I would love for you to be more romantic. I will literally say that to someone. And if they can't, then I'm like, okay, now I already said it. You're not doing it. I'm done communicating that, you know?
Right.
But like little things like that, more men are more like, I want to be the one who gets the flowers or the, things like that. Like, I meet more men who are like not privy to opening doors and being more polite or being more chivalrous, and things like that. So I can kind of tell their upbringing based off of that.
Do you believe that chivalry is dead, or is it just based on their upbringing?
No, my ex is very chivalrous. Like, he's
Okay.
a very, very good guy. Me and him just didn't work. But
Why didn't you work?
why didn't we work? We were super young when we had the kid, and we started off as fuck buddies.
Okay.
So that's really what it was. We had no emotional investment in it or respect or whatever to begin with. It didn't start off well. Now that I'm older, I kind of recognize, okay, that's not how relationships start. But that's just it. Otherwise, like, I feel like because of a lot of history things, a lot of the bad stuff that happened, it just accumulated so much. We exploded, and it just became one of those things where it was like, okay, we just don't work together in that way. But otherwise, we're both decent human beings. Like, he's a decent human being. He's the type of guy who, like, puts me on the side of the sidewalk and it's like, I'll walk on this side, like, or open the door for me. And like, he's a very good guy. And whoever he treats better than me, like, she's like a girl. Like, I'm not bitter about the situation ending or whatever. And I'm realistic about how he is as a man. And him plus other people remind me that there are good guys out there. They just do it for who they feel like fits for them.
Right. Absolutely. I feel like, to be honest, I think it's for both parties, men and women. When somebody feels like they're appreciated, with the exception of the ratchet, they tend to do more. They tend to be more. Like, when you come out for me, when Katie comes out for me, I'm like, I can't wait for you to ask me to do something for you. I can't wait to be a part of whatever it is you got going on. I can't wait to support, send gifts, send flowers, whatever it is, because you've done what some other people wouldn't do, whether it's because of PTSD from other guys, whether it's from whatever it may be. You took the time out of your day to come out here. So women are the same way. I just told you about how women come to my aid all the time, right? And so far more than men. Because men are logical. They're going to calculate the risk. Am I going to jump out there in front of 20 guys to save this one man? Right? Right? Versus a woman who's like, hey, 7 girls, let's go. And it was way more than 7 girls, by the way. They don't even know what we're talking about, but it was way more than 7 girls that just came and grabbed me and and took me back, right? Because, like, they're like, whoa, that's Festus. We're going to save him. There's no thought about it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that was a split second. I promise you, you could not think about doing that. You have to just do it. And that's where my respect for women comes from, because they're willing to put themselves in danger to support me. They're willing to put themselves, you're willing to bring your daughter around me, and you've known me for maybe 4 or 5 months, you know? So it's that respect. It's like, oh, what can I do? How can I support her? I only have ices in the house. Should I go and get something else? Like, seriously, because I understand what that is. I understand how women have supported me in the past. And, that's something that you can't replicate. It's an appreciation. You give appreciation, you get it back.
Right.
And men feel the same way. Obviously, they'll think about it longer. And you probably don't want them thinking about it that long. But, that is something that we do take into consideration. For example, I'm having on April 20th, which is like Marijuana Day or something like that. My rugby team from college, they're having a 50-year reunion.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't want to go to some 50-year reunion all the way in New York City, take a plane all the way out there. But one of my mans hit me up from the rugby team, and they're like, you should go. There's a lot of networking opportunities. There's X, Y, and Z. And now from a business perspective, I'm like, okay, spend $200, take a flight. Who cares? Like, let's see what that's about, So now thinking through going. Whereas a woman would just say, you know what, I'm either going to do it or I'm not. So there's a different frame of mind there, but we all jump to a logical conclusion. The good thing is I have time on my side where I have 2 more months to decide whether I'm going to go. I'm probably leaning more towards going just because I don't know, right? The opportunity cost is very low, $200 to see 50 years of success from a rugby team. So,
That's
you,
cool.
you just don't know.
Yeah. Well, just on asking because you are a guy, I think sometimes women are a little confused because of the way that we assume that men like to be loved or given to or whatever, just based off of, I guess, tradition, like cooking or cleaning or whatever. Like, I understand those are things that you also listed off, but I think those are things that most women do just because we're brought up that way. We're like conditioned in a way to be that way. But besides that, I feel like there's something more special that men would like to have. Like, and in that kind of scenario, what would that be? Like, what would make you, for example, feel more loved as a guy than just being taken care of when you're sick or cooking and cleaning? Like, what would be more tailored, I guess, to you?
It really depends on who you're dealing with. So when you're in the Latino community, you know that all Spanish women can cook, all Spanish women can clean, all Spanish women are going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
In the Hispanic community, let's say the Caucasian community, you're going to have 50%. Would you agree? That can cook, clean, do those things, right? So let's say when I was in college, I was a sophomore in college. No, I was a junior in college. Sorry about that. I had a roommate who was white, and his mom would bake cookies. White people are real good at baking. Okay. So when I hear all this, when you see all these little TikToks of white people literally messing up the food on purpose just to get views, and everybody's like, oh, X, Y, and Z. I'm like, I'm so glad I know some white people that can cook.
That's hilarious.
Right? Because it is, and obviously they're there for the money, they're there to monetize it. But I'm like, okay, you guys can continue to believe this. I'm going to my neighbor literally right next door who will make me some of the best mac and cheese. You know why? Because it's baked. And Aaron, who is actually hosting the neighborhood dinner, like, that's dope to have a Caucasian lady who understands how to cook and does, things that you expect. But obviously not everybody's like that. You have a lot of Caucasian people who also were able to work from home or not work at all. Do you realize that only 20% of women actually don't have to work? Like, they can actually be stay-at-home moms.
I believe that for sure.
20%.
I've seen a lot of women who are like
one of them is my uncle's wife. So that's a very small population of people. Most of them are going to be Caucasian. 67% of women would rather be stay-at-home moms.
It's just because of I think the child rearing and raising them and being more involved in their activities. So I'm just going to say, because I was in the situation where pretty much from beginning to end, I've always had a job, like with my kid. So she's almost 10. So beginning to end, I've always had a job. So I've not been able to have the same amount of time I would have if I could be with her 24/7 and be like more comfortable, like taking her to school, not rushing her, like, things like that.
Right.
So I'm sure like the children benefit and more for that than the women do because of that.
I think on a logical perspective, let's say I'm able to do that, which I am. I'm able to have a woman who stays at home and just takes care of the kids. The only thing that's going to cross through my mind is not how you nurture the child, is not how you prepare food for me, because I know that's going to be done, at least with the woman that I was get. But I think the biggest thing is, what is the child learning? Because everybody wants to be stay at home, especially because it's a minority thing. But are you able to teach the child what they need to know in school, and do it properly so that they're ahead of their class? Not just staying above. I want you to take them out. I want you to take them to the park right over there. I want you to walk them around. There's a nice walking trail. I want you to do all those things, but I also want them to be more, right? I want them to be more than what they are. I want them to be more than what they believe they can be. I want you to bring that out of them. Are you able to do that? Or do they need the structure that a school offers in order to get that? That's the stuff that goes through my head. And what I would appreciate as a man, doesn't matter if it's your child, a child that we had together, whatever, any child that's under my roof deserves that same opportunity. If you can't provide that, then you need to communicate that. Not be emotional about it. Not feel like, oh, I can do this because X, Y, and Z. No, just because you want to stay home doesn't mean that you can actually teach this child what they need to know to be ahead of their class, right? So
It just
that's where I'm
depends
at.
on the person, but I think for the most part, most children benefit in being able to get ahead because of that emotional stability. So, like being able to bond with a mom or whoever it could even be the dad and the mom's the one who's the breadwinner, whoever it is. But the child benefits more because they have that type of bond. They have like that type of security already dealt with versus like when, for example, in my case, my daughter was with a babysitter every so often, so they didn't get that bond. They were with whoever at the time that could take care of them. And when you have that one person, they have that familiarity. They grow up with that recognition. They grow up with like, I already know myself. I know my mom. I know my dad. Like, and I think that emotional stability helps them feel confident in themselves enough to that they don't feel fear when they go out into the world, I guess. I feel like that gets them more ahead than kids, for example, who grow up in broken homes or grow up in with neither of the parents being able to bond with them like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
I
from
would
my point of
agree.
view.
I think obviously the best thing that you can ever do for a child is to be with the parent that raised them. Obviously, if the parent is horrible, then that's a
I mean,
no-no.
I can. There are some parents who,
Right.
even if there are a stay-at-home mom or dad or whatever they are, doesn't mean that they're gonna give that bond to the kid. Like,
Absolutely.
but
The
the ones that do, like, the kid does benefit from that.
second best thing is to obviously find a person that is responsible and able to take care of the child and to raise a blended family. The third best thing is to just raise the child by yourself, which I think that most women will have to do, because some men are just not going to be there. I think it is very rare for me at 26 to be this mature. And that's why a lot of women will say, hey, I just want an older guy, right? That is more likely to find a guy who is more mature. But a guy who is unable to really still regulate his emotions. So going back to that responsibility piece, there were so many people that I saw at our job with Katie that would always be around Katie. And I'm like, I can tell just by looking at them, like they're just so hungry for you know what.
Okay.
And it's like, bro, how old are you? Like how old are you that's all you can think about? That's all that's going through your head. So you obviously haven't had enough experience as an older guy to where that's all you can think about. As women get older, we're going to deal with more things, right? We're going to deal with pain, we're going to deal with surgeries, we're going to deal with a bunch of medications. Women tend to live longer than men, but they tend to need more medical support. For me, I really do feel blessed because when I was in the army, I have free medical insurance for the rest of my life. So there's a lot of things that I don't even have to think about. Like when we're offered medical coverage, I'm thinking, should I get it for my mental health? But I don't need it because I'm always working. So, and I'm always happy. I'm good. I don't drink as much as I used to when I was out here just partying and having these rotations that I probably needed at the time just to feel secure in who I was as a man.
Right.
And over time you start to realize, one, I love the narrative of women need men, men need women. I love that narrative. It's not the breaking up of everybody else in order to feel better about yourself. Because who's gonna make you feel like a child? You've had to be so responsible, so built up, so strong, so in control of everything that you can't even feel comfortable around a guy to really make you feel like a baby, not a woman, but like a baby. I mean, it's enough to make you cry, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and I can just recall only one situation where I went out with someone that, you know, we don't talk anymore, but he was one of a good experience that I've had. And I just remember one day we decided to go downtown, like Columbus downtown, and then, you know, like literally the simplest shit, like all we did was ride scooters, but we were laughing, we were talking like the whole time, and like little things like that are like a quality experience versus taking me out like to a fucking third world country and just letting me sit in the pool by myself all day. You know, stuff like that. So like some people don't understand there's more to it than, and even in the small things, than doing all that kind of stuff. So that did make me feel like a kid though. Like I felt like a kid, like little things like that. We're going to Dave and Buster's, but I think sometimes it has a lot to do with the quality of person that you're with and how they interact with you versus someone who's just like, I don't really want to do this. Like that's how my ex was. He would, and I'm going to just say this, like the last time we went to New York, I'm like, I want to take my daughter and my nephew and we're going to go have fun. We're going to go to the city. Like my grandpa, like who did that for me and my sister, isn't here anymore. So I'm like, I want to do that for my daughter and my nephew. So I'm like gung ho about it, and he's like pouty faced the whole time, and I'm like, why did you come? Like, you should have stayed your grouchy ass at home. Like, you know, and like he didn't make the experience fun at all. He didn't try to interact with the kids. He didn't try to interact with me. I was the only one dealing with these two damn kids.
Right.
But if I had like that person who like had fun with me in the scooters, I know he would have made that experience just as fun. So it's so different, like the vibe that people are.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's when I realized I do want somebody who's a little bit more open and fun and less restricted of themselves. And again, little things like that made me realize why we didn't work, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's actually going to be a split. There's going to be two different men for that type of reason. There's a man who wants a girl like you who is down to earth, just wants the scooter and all that stuff. There's a man who's just focused on, oh, I can spend my way out of every situation. So I'll send you to Dubai. I'll put you in a pool. I'll send you to the nicest hotel.
Some people are happy with that.
And I don't want to deal with X, Y, and Z. Yeah, because they just want to post for social media. They just want to have a good time. And it's easier for a guy who is doing those type of things to just be like, oh, I don't have to do much, right? It's more engaging to ride the scooter. It's more engaging to play basketball with you. It's more engaging to go roller skating or ice skating. It's more engaging to go to Pins Mechanicals and try to have a nice day out. And so that actually requires more effort. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for effort or are you looking for a guy who's just going to say, you know what, this is where I put my effort and this is what I can give you. And it's hard to find that balance. It really is. No matter what I do, no matter how much money I have, I'm always going to do more. This right here is more. I don't need to do this, right? But that's the lifestyle that it comes with a type of guy, a certain guy like me, where you don't have to worry about financial security, but you do have to worry about time. You have to worry about, what is he doing? Why is he with so many women? Why is he with so many guys? Why is he always out and about? Okay, he does boxing, he does work, he has all these investments, and he's doing YouTube. Like sometimes it's just too much. And if you don't understand, if you're not aware, if you're not eased into it, it can be a lot.
It can. That's true. And I agree with that. I mean, that's why it's always like nice to know yourself well enough to know like what you like or what you want to have. Right. And like in that same sense that you're saying, like someone who does put effort or is more engaging with their partner, that is, I think when you get older, you kind of realize your own mortality. and you kind of see yourself like, well, I do want somebody who's going to show up at the hospital for me and make hard decisions.
Absolutely.
Or if I like lose my leg, or if I get acid burn, or if I burn in a fire, like who's actually going to be there for me when I'm in that type of situation? That's the kind of guy like I look for. And that's what I mean by strength. It takes a lot for a guy to be like, I'm going to take care of her when she needs it,
right.
you know? And more weak men are out there where they'll drop your ass once you're in the hospital. They'll go somewhere else. They'll find a younger girl.
So that's a weak man to you. Like when you are finally in your time of need, they're just ready to go.
Right? Yeah, ready to go. Most people, and it's not just men, even women. Like men go through situations where in a wheelchair. Women will go off to the next guy that's penis working. You know, right. Obviously, if he's in a wheelchair, there's a problem there. For sure.
I mean, I'm not judging, but
I don't know.
Imagine being in your 30s, right? You have a child, okay, but that doesn't mean like your life stops forever. Like,
right.
Obviously, if a guy's in a wheelchair,
I mean, Sean's fine, right?
He can't do much for you. I mean, he got his hands, hopefully. And he got his mouth, but that's barely working. I'm sorry because I lost a few subscribers just now. At least I'm the one who's saying it. But it takes a lot.
Yeah, either which way, if there's a really bad medical situation, who has the strength of steel to be able to withstand that and be there with you till you die, type deal. Well, not a lot of people can stomach that. Very few people can stomach that.
For me, and I think this hasn't changed, which I'm so happy about, it's always going to be about how much time in, right? No guy just says, oh, I'm going to get rid of my mom.
Right.
You know, like, I'm not going to be around my mom ever again. I hate her so much. Hopefully nobody clips this little portion. But no guy says that. Why? It's because the mom always showed them love. The mom always showed them affection. The mom always said, okay, you did something wrong, but you're still in my home. And I'm not telling women to just take a guy back if he cheats and X, Y, and Z. But what I am saying is that, let's say you get that acid burn or whatever a month into the relationship. That is not something that a guy is going to easily just be willing to accept, right?
Yep.
I'm not going to say my life ends now because I've known you for a month and this X, Y, and Z happened to you. But if I've known you for maybe a year and a half, we've been together, and this thing happens to you, maybe we have a child, there's absolutely no way you're just off to the side as some thing. Right. You know, like, and that just comes with knowing who I am as a person. Because of, and this is just my mentality, I can't tell you that every other man has this mentality. But because I believe that there's so much fake stuff in the world to where nobody really has a sense of where they're going and what they're doing. They can lie about everything. You lie about job interviews. You lie on your resume.
Their boyfriends or girlfriends.
You lie about your boyfriend and girlfriends. And why do you do that? Is because you're not valuable enough, to be honest. When I have a girl, or if I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and I say, hey, babe, I'm going to have an open relationship on my side, you're not. Or, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Whatever the case may be, I'm communicating that. I'm open with that. You can either take it or leave it.
Yeah, but that's now transparency is super important.
Now I also understand that there is a disadvantage. There's not a bunch of people like me. Have you seen a guy my age doing what I'm doing, where I am? If I showed you if I showed you what I have, you would be like, how? Like, how are you doing this? And so, obviously, I also understand that people have a string attached to them. They're almost tied down. They feel like they need to be with a guy like this, right? And so, I also have to understand that. And if someone feels like they need to be with me because of what I can do, that's also a problem.
Yep, I agree with that. 100%.
You understand? Like, you can't need to be with me. You have to just want to be with me.
Right.
Not like, oh, I have so many options, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, because that's not how I would ever treat the situation. I'm not here to break hearts. I'm not here to break feelings, right? And obviously, I also have to just decide on a person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some guys who want multiple baby moms and multiple this and that. I'm not that type of guy. I just want one. Okay? I don't want to have to deal with all of that.
Who knows how many baby moms are out there
There's
that they don't even know about.
So when it comes to
that's
that,
why it's like if a guy can put his dick anywhere, he has no idea what happened after that. I don't trust you. Like
there is some sense to that, right? And the only reason I say there's some sense is because I was able to make it out kid free.
that you know of.
That I know of. Listen, if I ended up having a kid, we're gonna do a DNA test, and if it's mine, hey,
yeah, do one of those.
That's fine.
Find my ancestry.
And if you come back African, then hey, we're locked in. Now obviously, if I didn't have a kid with you, I'm not gonna say that every woman was bad, because obviously they're not. But if I didn't have a child with you, or if I didn't feel comfortable doing so, then obviously there was something that I saw in you that wasn't quality to me.
Exactly.
And what a lot of guys do is, okay, you want fun, you can have fun. Are you gonna wrap up? Some guys will, some guys won't. The thing that comes with that is you're taking a risk. You don't really know what that risk is, especially if you don't have children. If you do have children, then you're just done. You understand? And so, yeah, have I taken risks? I have. I think most guys would if they're in that situation. Have I learned to take less risks? Absolutely. And it's because I just have more abundance than most people. And the reason I know that is I can go back to middle school. I can literally go back to middle school. My brother was mad at me, my older brother. Why? Is because I had a lot of girls come into the house and he had not been laid at that time. So just seeing the anger on his face, like, why aren't you throwing me a girl? Why aren't you, sending people my way? Like, that was weird, first time, first experience, just trying to understand that. And it's like, hold on. Was it my job to do that for you? Like, now I have to understand. And then when he first wanted to actually talk to one of my exes, I'm like, hold on, that's also weird. Like, why are you trying to talk to one of my exes as if that's easy pickings? Like, you should be doing your own thing. And so also building that bond with family, making sure that you have a strong structure at home, making sure that your family is on the same page, so where they're not doing you dirty. There's a lot of family that you see online that go viral for cheating with the same people, or effing with the same man or woman. That should never happen, right? In the Latino community, in the African community, Caucasian, it doesn't matter. That should never happen. And so being able to trust people, being able to respect people, being able to truly communicate and understand one another, I think that's really the most important. But it all comes with experience. Like, if I didn't have these experiences, if I didn't feel like my life was literally in abundance to where I could really do whatever I wanted, I would have more of a scarcity mindset. I would have more of a mindset where I need to take what comes. Maybe. I don't know. But I've always been confident in myself. I've always had a drive. And so what came with that was hard work, dedication, and the confidence never left. Always been an athlete, so like there was always women around me. And because of that, now when you have money on top of money, and when you have houses on top of houses, and when you have just more than what the average person would have, you try to humble yourself. Yeah. Right? You have to try and humble yourself. I was called cocky before all of this. So now it's like, now I'm actually humbling myself. Now I'm actually going back to the basics.
So question, in all of your experiences, do you have a type?
Do I have a type? I think when it comes to my type, I wouldn't say fit because I don't like a girl who is just like a six pack.
But you mean discipline?
Yeah, discipline. Like you have
Eating healthy habits.
I wouldn't say eating healthy because you don't have to eat healthy to not be like having a pouch and everything else, right? Some people are just genetically different.
Okay.
You can have a little bit of fat, but not like overextend yourself. And then more so because I'm also in the gym, because I have a gym downstairs, because I also
realistically you take care of yourself. You like
I would like somebody who takes care of themselves. Outside of that, cooking and cleaning you think is normal
type appearance.
No. Like that's important. Just because you look good,
and she could learn.
I'm not about to teach nobody. There's too many women
on
out
her
here
own. I have a friend who's white, and she made herself learn Dominican cooking because she loved Dominicans.
That's great. There's some pink beans that I just heard about. Pink beans. I never heard of that before. That is so good with some Spanish rice. Listen, if you know how to make that, come my way. But no, cooking and cleaning, I mentioned that I've dealt with more women than you've probably dealt with.
Okay.
Okay.
Probably not.
So I know for a fact that a lot of women can't cook. I had a girl ask me once how to make chicken.
How old were they?
22.
They're not gonna know how to cook at that age.
My little brother was cooking some eggs at 13. Like
when they want to, when they like somebody, when they need to figure it out, they will figure it out. Trust me.
I'm sure. Yeah, she wanted to learn. She wanted to get it.
I'm not about to teach 20 to 25-year-olds.
Listen, get a cookbook
pass because they're not going to know.
Get a cookbook. A cookbook is no more than $25.
If they're bored, they'll learn how to cook. But until they have a kid, which is typically going to be probably 25 and up, that's when they're going to learn how to cook.
I promise you, if you have a cookbook, it doesn't matter what the cookbook is. You get 12 pages of a cookbook. You learn 12 little dishes. You are golden. You can learn from there. I can teach you from there. But what I won't do is, or you know how to make a cereal and some toast. you better hop to the other side.
I barely knew how to make cookies at 22. Yeah.
That's all you knew how to know?
Me and my ex were...
I promise you knew more than some cookies.
Story time. Me and my ex were trying to figure out how to make cookies. And this shit wasn't working. I was like, isn't this supposed to be mushy? Like, why is it so like this?
Hard.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we don't know how to fucking do it. My ex comes behind me and just pours water in it. I'm like, motherfucker, it doesn't say water in here. Like, why are you putting water in these cookies? That's been our running joke ever since. So don't put water in cookies, okay? It doesn't work that way. It will bake poofy and not like a regular cookie.
Yeah, the only one that I
know how to
use
bake cookies.
You know
at
that
22 years old.
You know that white mannequin thing with the hat, the chef's hat. What is it called? I can't remember.
Like a mushroom hat?
No, like that all white person.
Pillsbury Doughboy.
There you go.
I was reading the back of the chocolate chip bag, and I still didn't get it. And this is at a time that I don't think we had Google like that, did we? Or we did?
We did.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Sure.
I definitely didn't use it.
But all I'm saying is you can get a cookbook. I'm actually about to get a cookbook for myself. And I loved going on dinner dates. Like, I make a meal, you make a meal. We go to my house, we go to your house. Like, those are always, like, the best experiences.
That is fine. But, so, even on the cooking front, still didn't know how to cook past 22. I asked my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law at the time, because she was making food. And I'm like, watching her. That's how I learned. I watched people who cooked a lot. And if you don't have that, you're not going to learn how to cook unless you read something. So I remembered my ex-mother-in-law was in the kitchen, and I would tell her, I was like, how much of this did you put? Like, I'm asking her, like, how much? 2 tablespoons, 5 tablespoons, 4 cups. And she's just looking at me like, bitch, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I'm like, I asked my ex, I was like, I don't get it. Like, she can't give me a recipe. He's like, because we're Latinos, we don't do it that way, you know? Like,
Right.
so I learned that you just cook how you feel.
Yeah.
It's like
you got to
science.
taste test.
And then that's how I learned
Yeah.
how to cook. So I just kept doing it over and over and over again until I got better.
Mhm.
And then that's how I learned how to cook. Now I can cook anything I feel like, because I'm like, okay, I don't have to really follow the recipe.
Right.
I just have to go with what I like, you know, in my food with certain things. Obviously, more advanced stuff I have to do, like look at a cookbook and stuff, but I really didn't learn how to cook until I got to know more of like the Puerto Rican, Dominican like side, and actually watching them and realizing that they don't actually use any measurements.
Right.
They just throw it together.
Black people don't use measurements either.
Well, what I'm saying is, if they don't use measurements and I made it this far, you know, God bless everybody else, because they're not going to really know how to cook until...
Right. It's all a taste test. Even when I do my macaroni and cheese, which is my favorite food for anybody who's watching, send me some gifts, macaroni and cheese. I'm going to have somebody else taste test it.
Oh, that is a good point. The way to your heart is macaroni and cheese.
Food is the way to a man's heart.
See,
right?
there we go. See, little things like that.
And you've always heard that saying, and what I've realized is that sayings are always true, right? So like we all know that food is the way to a man's heart. The way you cook is also going to. That is also true. Imagine you telling me, "Hey, babe, don't go out. Don't go out because you shouldn't be partying. No, don't do this." Be like, what? I'm partying tonight. Or if you say, "Hey, babe, I made some food, and Zara says she's gonna wait for you. Zara is my cousin.
Outfit.
Zara is my cousin." It doesn't even have to be all that. But listen, Zara is my little cousin's name, who I love so much.
Okay.
And let's say, "Hey, babe, I made some food. We made lasagna, and Zara is also waiting for you, so we can't wait to eat with you tonight." If I said, "Hey, I was going out to do X, Y, and Z interview at 8, but I know that food is ready at 6, I'm going to be like, yo, we got to do this another day."
Okay.
Right? Or you say, "I made food. Why aren't you here?" I'm not showing up.
So the respect factor,
Absolutely.
You would like somebody to do it, be more softer, like,
for
or
sure.
be like,
and
it would
never work.
I guess a woman.
It would never work, at least for me, because I'm so much of a man, so much of a macho man. Like, I don't have to show you all the time what I need, what I should be. You have a lot of women who say, if a man is a man, I'm going to be a woman. What were you before? You know, like, for me, you're a woman all the time.
Right. So I think it just depends, so I'm just going to say this. I am a little bit more rougher around the edges because of what I've been through. And I do understand when men say, like, I want somebody younger, because they really haven't been tainted enough, and they're a little bit more naive. They're easier to mold, you know, to whatever they want, you know, and they're like a slate, you know, brand new slate. You could do whatever. But with women like my age, 30 and up, who have been pretty much through the ringer, through the dating world, and we're a little bit more aware of what we want, it's harder for us to give in like that easily and be more feminine. So like I've been in a lot of situations where I'm like, I'm just gonna like let this just kind of feel this out and see where it goes. As soon as it goes left, I'm like, fuck off, you know?
and I think it is harder when you do hit that, let's say 32, 33, 34, 35.
Yeah, it's tougher.
Because of the wall that gets put up, right? So now that
I feel the wall. Like, I feel really bad sometimes with guys who genuinely want to date me, and I'm like, am I that damaged that I'm not taking these good morning texts and calls? Like, I don't know, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, for example, I have a neighbor who is just entering the dating market as well. Her son is now 18, off to college.
Oh, that's amazing.
And she's probably going to do a video soon. But you know, when you do have that wall up, maybe you do run into a guy. I've seen so many older people get married as well. But when you do run into a guy who is with their quirks, no guy is perfect. One guy is as cocky as I am, and one guy is as immature as the next person, or whatever it may be. you've experienced that before. You've seen those tendencies before, but every person is just a little bit different. You now have to understand, is this somebody that I can be with? Can I accept this? Am I willing to be around this? Is my life better or worse? Because that's what women think about, right? Is my life better or worse? Is this person responsible enough to be around me? Someone that I can actually bring around my child. It's no longer about the family, but about the child, right? Those are the things that cross through your head. Those are the things that you have to think about. But when you see that wall, hold on. You're willing to be nice to everybody. You're nice to the kid around the corner. You're nice to me, who lives right across the block, right? You're nice to everybody except the person that you're with, because you're expecting more from this person before you even show them who you are as a person. So that's the thing. Like I said, before you introduce a person to your child, right, you have to allow them to know you, engage with you, feel that you are who they would want to be around, and then accept your child because of who you are. But what is happening is you want to know everything about the man, and they know nothing about you. And that's where the problem lies.
It is too, but also mostly where people aren't aware of themselves enough. I don't expect anyone to be healed or perfect, but I do expect someone to know when they're ready to date. Like, and most people are not ready to date, and they're in the dating world. And I'm like, how are you here? Like, how'd you make it this far? Like, what? Like, like some people will be like, I'm separated from my wife about 2 months. I'm like, why are you trying to date? Like, you should give yourself time. Like, you know, some people who just got out of a 3-year relationship that they were engaged to, trying to date and telling me less than 6 months later, I'm good. I'm like, I don't think so. You should probably go to therapy.
Well, you don't know. You don't know who
I know
everyone
enough
else is
to know that if you are over somebody that you claim you were in love with that quickly, then you didn't invest any time into that person.
I would disagree because, for example, my very first crush, my very first love. I don't even want to say love.
How old are you?
I was 16.
So that don't count.
It don't count.
It don't count.
Okay, but I'm going to say it anyway. My very first crush was when I was 16. This girl was dating a guy at one point. We ended up going to the same high school. I didn't know. She actually went to a different school within the high school. Okay. I was in a different school. We ended up dating. The same day we started dating, some girl approached me in the train station and was like, hey, I want to be with you. We're going to do something tonight with these other 3 people. Do you want to go out with me? I was still on cloud 9, right? I'm still in La La Land. First real relationship, a girl that I wanted for so long. I was like, no. Here's the pressure that guys deal with, right? I had 2 guys scream out, you're gay, because I didn't accept that girl right away. Was she ugly? No, she wasn't ugly. But I was, again, in my own head, like, I got this beautiful girl. I got what I got. I'm ready to go. And so they're like, oh, you're gay. That's pressure. Did I feel it? No, because I was blocking it out. I was shielded by what I was feeling. Does that always happen? No, you're not always in La La Land. And so when we ended up breaking up, more so due to her, and she got with a guy who was my 3rd string backup on the football team. That's when I was like, oh, I don't feel nothing for her. Mind you, I was probably feeling her for like 2 good months. All her friends were trying to get with me. I'm telling you, like, she had about 4 friends that were trying to console me every day, meeting me in the staircase, talking me up, trying to literally be my girlfriend, her own friends. And I'm just like, I'm good. Until she dated the 3rd string backup. I'm like, this guy isn't even close to who I am.
Yeah, but like those, so then in reality, really no real feelings were involved in that. I think when you're older, you actually invest time into that person and you want to process why that relationship fucked up. So most men will get out of that relationship and distract themselves instead of focusing on like, why did I fuck up that last relationship, or where did I go wrong, or where did they go wrong?
So I think it's also easier when you didn't do something wrong. It's very easy when you know that you put your best foot forward.
How did you get to that point if you didn't do anything wrong?
Because one, I was the one that was wanting the relationship. She really wasn't at that time, right?
So that's something you processed, and that was a quick process.
Right.
Okay.
So it was much more easier for me to say, hey, this person is with me because, I don't know, maybe she just decided to agree. More so than she actually wanted this relationship. She actually wanted to build this bond.
But did you see if there was any compatibility there? Like, so how you guys started off dating?
So there wasn't. It felt like more so like she was just playing the role. Okay, I'm his girlfriend. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Why did she want to do that? Who knows? There was plenty of girls who wanted me, but I only had eyes for her, right? And that's how it is for most women too, right? You are looking at one guy, but there's plenty of guys that want you, but you only see that one guy. So it was the same situation. Again, star of a football team doing X, Y, and Z. So there's always a bunch of people around. There's always a bunch of people at the games. There's always a bunch of people. It's New York. Like they all know who I am, from the third school to the last school. But I'm only looking at this one person. If I kiss a girl, everybody knows who who she is, right? So if I'm only looking at her, but she is more focused on just saying okay for now, right? You start to pick up on that. And what happened was, when she actually dated a guy that I didn't see as my type of value, right? If you were to go to like a Chris Brown, yes, he's a guy who's going to date multiple women. Yes, he's a guy who is much more wealthier than me. Yes, he's a guy who women would find physically attractive. I would say, okay, she probably upgraded. I'm not going to lie and say that I'm the speck of the speck if you're with Chris Brown. But if you're with someone who can't even hold a candle to me, it's like, oh, if you were that low value in my comparison, then I shouldn't even be wasting my time thinking about you.
But see, that's what I'm saying. You waited till that person dated somebody else for you to move on. Like, I mean, like when people are in the dating world, they don't think
because I held her to a higher standard. Does that make sense? So when she showed me what her standard was, that's when it all dissipated. When you talk about respect for another person, you talk about what they're willing to do or who they're willing to be around, be with, or even engage in. So I'm also looking at it in the same light. This person engaged with someone who is not my caliber. Therefore, there's no reason for me to invest that much time, energy, or even mental capacity.
This was after you guys broke up? Mm-hmm. Why would you even invest or continue to not, like,
again,
after the breakup?
Love allows you to still feel certain things, but logic in a man allows you to then say, you know what, it's not worth it. So now the logic set in once I saw who she really was or what she was really accepting of.
What if to her that was...
To her, that was, oh, this guy is great.
In the world.
Yeah. And to me, that was, this guy's my third string. He'll never see the light of day.
So like for her, but that's what I'm saying. For her, that was her.
And that's okay. Armor. And that's okay. Now I understand that you're not my
person.
Speed.
Exactly. No, but you're person. So that's when you get to that point of acceptance, that's great. But most people don't even get to that point and they're in the dating world is what I'm saying. Some people don't even know what happened in their relationship and they're just like, trying to date the next person and then do the same thing to the next person, like example, cheating. Like I dated not even this guy, mind you, I'm just going to shout him out in case he will probably see this. Very handsome man, well endowed, handsome as fuck, great, like conversationalist, very charismatic. But I asked him a few questions and I was like, what happened? Because he was with this girl for like 3 years. They were engaged. Like I thought they were going to get married. A few months later, he's asking me what I'm doing. So we go hang out and I'm just like, hey, like, what's up? Like, how'd you guys break up? And he was finally like, oh yeah, like we just didn't work out. Like she cheated. And I was like, well, who cheated first? He couldn't even answer that. He was like, well, I don't know if I cheated first or she cheated because I actually didn't catch her if she probably cheated first. He already put blame on her. He had no idea what happened in that relationship. He's already talking to me, who's another female. He's distracting himself. He has no idea what he's doing in the dating world. And I'm asking these questions because I want to see how much responsibility someone's going to take for their own bullshit.
Right.
And like, if you don't take any responsibility for it and you're blaming the other person automatically, you're going to do the same thing to me. Like,
you know what's funny? Guys think the same freaking way. So when a girl goes out there and says, oh, this guy was X, Y, and Z, this guy was X, Y, and Z, and you don't cast no blame on yourself, I'm just like,
how much of that person, like how much of you, like how much of yourself do you know that you did in that or participated in or whatever? Like you, like I get that some people do bad things, but you can't say that you didn't allow some things to happen or participate or contribute to some degree, you know, like in my case with my ex, I stayed for as long as I did, knowing he was looking for other people to date. So that was my fault. I put myself in that situation. I allowed it to go for so long. And because unfortunately women, we have our kids, so we were like, oh, we want to keep our family together for as long as possible till we die. Like, and so like that was more of my motivation to stick around. But then I realized really through and through that he was just didn't give a fuck about that. So I'm like, I can't put myself in that situation and let my daughter think that this is cool, like to be in this type of situation. So I'm like, the best way we could do is separate. And we did. And I didn't let myself date. I mean, I did do it the very first time around and I fucked it up because he wasn't ready to be in that situation. And then me and my ex tried one more time. We had a second run around. And that's when I got real clarity as to how we really fucked up, you know, but we made it worse. So at that point I was like, okay, we're done. Then when we're done, I took at least a year to evaluate what I did. How come I gave him the second chance? What did I get wrong? What did I catch wrong? What did I miscommunicate to myself and convince myself that I thought that the second time would be okay? What did I do? Like, you know, to like even contribute. Like I didn't go to therapy with him either and he asked for it. So I'm going to say that. You know, little things like that. So I probably also should have gone to therapy on my own, even if he suggested it and I thought that he needed to go to therapy. I should have just went for myself anyway. So little things like that, you know, to help me regulate my emotions and make sure that if he did do it again, I knew what to do, you know? So now that I feel like I'm back in the dating world, it's very easy for me to see like who's in that same space, who got over their last relationship. Like, and it's hard. Still to this day, I get sad about things like with my ex or whatever, because, you know, I really wish I still had that family. But at the end of the day, this whole situation has made me a happier person, more peaceful. Like I fight with people less. I mean, I'm still myself, but I feel more of my spark coming out. And if I don't see people in that kind of same space, not like perfect, but like accepting their past as their past, not drinking all the time, distracting themselves in their vices or distracting themselves with other women, and they're actually truly trying to date, then like I'm more open to that person. The other situation that I had was a married man who's separated or whatever for a few months, and I'm like, no, you need like 5 years, like or whatever, I don't know, but you need way more time than you're telling me right now. And he still goes back and forth like on how he feels about his wife and like what he wants. And I'm like, nah, these motherfuckers are gonna get back together in like 2 years. Like what am I gonna like? I hate when guys say like, no, I'm separated. It's like, no, you're married. You're gonna get back with your wife someday. Like, and I don't know when that day is, but I'm not gonna be part of it. You know, and it's not fair to people who do want to date. Like, and these guys think like, oh, I'm just separated. I'm gonna say I'm separated. But at any given point at that time, they're technically married. If they felt like going back to their wife, they're going to do it. And that's it. It's over. Like, there's nothing else to do about it.
That's a new perspective that I haven't, obviously, as a non-married man, had to deal with or even consider. But yeah, even in the Army, I had a woman who ran away from her husband, joined the Army, and she's like, oh yeah, I ran away, X, Y, and Z.
But she's married?
But she's married. So like, those things do happen. People will say anything in order to live the life that they want, but it's more selfish, and you can tell a selfish person from the jump.